Hi, Aquarius. All right, welcome to this place. If you're new here, and welcome back if you're returning. If you are new, I guess I'm going to share with you, like Cancer, this space is called the Opal Oracle. We read tarot. We like to look at art and tell stories, figure out the story. We use tarot and astrology, art therapy. We find the light in the dark. So this reading is the focus and inspiration was Saturn, which is your ruler, one of your rulers, which will be 2025 to 2027. This will be from a sidereal perspective, but I feel like no matter what school of thought you follow, this will give you some information. Tropical's just ahead of time, and so this is actually, I wanted to make this to let people know that they have more time than they think that they do, which is a big part of what Saturn is all about. I will be looking from the rising sign. You can view it from any perspective. If you are a woman, I always suggest looking to the moon. Of course, if you're masculine man, you look to the sun. But be as creative as you want. You know, you get to decide what you want to do with your life, right? So I wanted to read actually from Robert Pelletier about Saturn. Maybe some of you are learning, or this might give you a little bit more of a foundation of what it means to have energy that runs through Aquarius. And you asked God, I guess, to learn lessons about that. Right? So it says Saturn is the development of personal worth. It is the realization that reward is a direct result of personal effort and responsibility. It is facing reality and accepting the burdens of duty. It is judgment refined by experience. Ricky's chasing his tail. You know, no matter how many times he does it, he doesn't remember, I guess, that it's his tail. Or maybe he's just playing. So Saturn defines the fear of the unknown that too often inhibits progress because of lack of confidence. Once confidence is regained, the individual is assured of growth and can realize objectives that were always available as potentials. Weird sound. Saturn establishes priorities to allow efficient management of personal resources and planning goals. This is very in line, especially Saturn being in the second for you. When functioning negatively, it denotes pessimism and defeat. I have to see what the sound is. Hold on a second. Troublemakers. It says, hope is dimmed by overwhelming burdens of responsibility, and sometimes even the slightest effort is laborious. Remember, you have also been going through Saturn through your sign for the last 2 years, right? It says, self-discipline is necessary, is essential, to assure that one's efforts are always productive. Let's read that again. Self-discipline. Not somebody else telling you what to do. And even if they did, we still always decide for ourselves what we do. Self-discipline is essential to assure that one's efforts are always productive. It is absolutely necessary to adhere to the laws of nature to gain the advantage over those who do not. Saturn is the wisdom that results from the thoughtful application of knowledge. The results, and I'm looking up again at laws of nature, the results from thoughtful application of knowledge, which is wisdom, right? And that's another big thing that Saturn represents. This is you. Naturally, Capricorn and Aquarius, for instance, are wise because they are ruled by Saturn. Do we have to make mistakes and try things and see if they work and don't work and maybe how to fix them? Yeah, that's how we get there. We've got to have the experience. And I feel like for the last... Okay, let's go over some things. On May 20... I keep doing that, May and March. There's so much happening between March and May. Pisces to Taurus. On May 29th, 2025, Venus, Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, Neptune, the North Node, and then Saturn walks into Pisces. 7 planets are sitting in Pisces, or hanging out in Pisces' house. That's a lot of energy. That's going all into your second house of resource. Your resources. Source sits in the second house. Re is again something. Because it's also what we possess. It's Taurus's house. I possess. Pisces is faith. Saturn is faith. That could be hard for some of you. This is also about acceptance as well. And really getting grounded, because to me, the second house is like an expansion of you. It's an expansion of you. And again, for the last 2 years, some of you could have been going... So there was definitely something huge the last 2 years for you. Hold on. Oh, I forgot to mention. Although this is inspired by Saturn, we're also going to be touching on Uranus and Jupiter and the nodes, because those are all shifting this year, which to me they're outside of the personal energy. It's not Venus or Mercury. It's those change more frequently, right? These are bigger. These are bigger spaces. These are things that last longer, right? Saturn lasts 2 years. Why is it feeling, it's all of a sudden, it's just, it keeps feeling quiet. Well, I guess I'm feeling a little bit of fear. I don't know if that's exactly it. It's kind of hard to explain the feeling that I'm having right now. And maybe right now isn't the time for this? Just a second. I want to read something for you. I have to, it's like I can't pull it. It's not that like my intuition is blocked right now, but it's also sort of exhausting to work in that abstract kind of way. This is sort of more literal, right? This book. It's someone's already sort of done the thinking about it. Now that's not because I don't have my own mind about it. But I trust this is going to help give the stepping stone to the next point of it. I hope that made sense. Okay. So for about a year specifically, this is kind of until next Pisces season. This is also a collective lesson. It says, you realize that you must plan carefully. Maybe for some of you, it's you must realize to plan carefully in order to succeed. Knowing that nothing can depend on chance, you organize your resources in such a way to achieve the best results. You understand your abilities and shortcomings, go Saturn, and establish your goals and objectives accordingly. You are prepared to accept whatever responsibilities will enable you to grow into important positions. Success is not a surprise to you since you have made an enormous effort for that very purpose. You aren't afraid that you will fail, nor do you need to feel threatened by anyone, because you built your position on a firm foundation. You know, and yes you do, that experience is the best teacher. And you also value education and training as a means to expand your opportunities. Some of you have Cancer placements. These attitudes enable you to fill your many purposes. You realize that results are in proportion to your contribution, and this feeling is communicated to your superiors. I'm seeing that which you connect and respect to in this world, and that is the superior is even like that's really high to other worldly kinds of things. It says your good relations with them, okay, I'm seeing the word spirit, helps open access routes. You are humble enough to seek advice, yes, you even being here, and guidance. Especially where you can recognize that someone else has experience, right? I would assume that you would respect that time that someone's been put into something, right? You love intelligent people. You want to talk to broad-minded people, right? Oh, this is funny. It says, although you are understanding of other people's motives, you aren't always tolerant of their negativity or incompetence. You expect a lot from those under you. And prefer to discuss mutual differences rather than let a misunderstanding spoil a relationship. Security is very important to you, and perhaps is the reason for your urge to succeed. You realize the danger of thinking that money is a universal solvent. You respect the power of money, but you won't be dominated by the extreme compulsion to accumulate a fortune, which is so suiting to this Saturn in the second house, too. I was reading Pluto sextile Saturn. Because you've been realizing for the last 4 years specifically, I want you to think back on this time frame, 2 to 4 years ago. Big things, right? Really big things. And it was teaching you so much where it was like, like just letting go of things. Now, as Cancer is one of your biggest blind spots, and it's actually in your 6th house of the battlefield, this is letting go emotionally too. Anger, blame, shame, guilt, hatred, irritation, aggression, depression, whatever. Which is hard, right? Because a lot of it was hidden. A lot of it was hidden. Some of you, I heard it was hidden in the marrow of your bones. Right? Capricorn and Pluto in the 12th house. That's like deep within somebody. This could even be bloodline energy. Is like healing those kinds of, right? Pluto and Cancer generation is, 1910, 1915, that generation. So again, the last 4 years, I feel like one of the undercurrent lessons was letting go, but it could have also been from physical things too, in a certain way. People, places, things. And remember that your mental health, all we want as humans is to feel loved, right? To feel wanted, needed, loved. Basically, that's loved, right? I'm important to you. You care. But when the mind is heavy, which when Saturn was going through Aquarius, it was heavy for everybody. You could tell it was going through Aquarius too, because all the cars were gray. Aquarius rules over the color gray. The sun isn't like yellow anymore, or reddish or orange. Generally, it's like almost white, because Saturn stops the light of Aquarius. And you know, those of you who have personal planets in Aquarius too, especially Sun, that's gonna drain. That's been like depleting your energy. It's because the 1st house is the house of vitality. You know, it's the body, and as a collective energy, watching Pisces reading could be very helpful, because that's talking to the whole picture, and they talked all about taking care of the body. Emotional health, mental health. Because remember, Pisces is I believe, and Aquarius is I know. Was it Carl Jung when someone was interviewing? I'm going to say Carl Jung. It could be wrong, but that's okay too. The point of the story is that this man was being interviewed, and he said, "Do you believe in God?" And I think he might have even chuckled a little bit, like joy came through him in a way, and he said, "No, I don't believe. I know. I know. I know in my heart," Leo to Aquarius, I know in my heart. What we know in our heart is the way out of suffering in this life. Like because once we tap in there, we can get rid of what doesn't suit it. I mean, that takes time. You're ruled by Saturn. It doesn't happen overnight. Especially when we're talking about the health of something, or if something has been like broken down or tired, right? We have to, depending on how hard something has worked, is how much time it may need to replenish. And I hope you've been taking care of yourself over these last few years, 2 to 4 years specifically, because it was asking you to rest. It was asking you to accept that maybe you're an important part of the equation, but particularly having to do with you, and I'm seeing the word relax. Right, because Virgo is one of your blind spots, and so is Cancer, right? Cancer is the emotional body, feeling, it's a slow river, let's say. And Virgo is peace in the mind. Cancer can be the peace through the feelings, and the mental space and the emotional space are so significant because it seems to be, to me, that this is what creates the spirit of someone, like the energy of a person. And of course, we all fluctuate and change in the amount of frequency or vibrancy or what have you. I feel like I'm talking to Pisces right now. What else do we want to talk about? Oh, if you have any personal planets in Pisces, so many P's, especially moon, please write Pisces moon. It seems to be a lot more people. I mean, I guess I never asked, so I didn't know. But once I asked, I was like, whoa, there are a lot of, I didn't expect that answer. You know, I just kind of threw it out there, but it's showing me like, okay, this is what's happening. And now I can take that information and realize that I can do something with that. So if you have any personal planets in Pisces, especially the moon, you're going to feel this strongly. Some of you, this could, if we go purely into the physical world, it could be like, you know, you're worried about money. You know, you're worried about, or you may just have a lot of debt, or there's a burden some way or another. Oh, you should watch Aries rising. I see. So as Saturn, if you do have planets there, as Saturn approaches it, you're going to feel stress of it. You can take this for any transit with Saturn as he moves forward. But you're going to feel it. But if you do your best humanly possible, you will receive like a gift, you know? Yeah, sure, it's a pain in the ass to change, say, your diet. Right? To really change your diet and really be like, I'm going to change my diet because I know this is healthier for me. Those kinds of shifts can happen fast, but they're really hard to stick with, right? Again, and that's Saturn. But if you stick it out with certain things, you'll get a gift. It's a reward. You do feel better after doing something that doesn't maybe feel that good. Now, of course, we don't want to go too far with that and hurt yourself, because Saturn and Pisces, especially together, is like an overabundance of self-sacrifice, and there doesn't need to be any kind of like martyrdom either. You know, like I wouldn't put yourself in a hole, for instance, financially, because, I don't know, like, you know, some of you could be having hardship financially, and you could say, well, oh, I'm going to go get, well, I guess, you know, maybe you get a loan, but then you have this debt that you have to pay off. You know what I mean? Like there's a trade-off with something, even if you get what you want. That's kind of what it is with Saturn. The moon specifically, though, would be touchy. I would definitely go to the dentist. Some of you need to go to the dentist. Saturn is teeth and bones, and the skin. The moon also rules over that. And Pisces is the feet. So taking care of these things, focus, like looking at these things, these show a lot of our health, right? Especially our teeth and our feet. I heard the simple life for me. Like, I really feel like there's been so much simplicity. Like, if you've been letting go over these last few years, again, 2 to 4 years, even physically, wherever that is, that was so healthy. It was so healthy. You know, it's like fasting. We're not going to die if we do that. I mean, we're all going to die, but I mean, like, we have choices. Okay, let's move forward a little bit. So in May 2025, Jupiter moves out of Taurus into Gemini. Uranus moves out of Aries into Taurus, so they're kind of like following each other. This is going to put Uranus in the 4th house, so there could be something, like some of you could move just like that. Like go to another place just like that. Well, I feel like it's comfy. I keep seeing someone like teleport to a really soft meadow. It's a sunny day, it's warm. Relationships with children are going to be a lot better. Could be more creative kind of communications or gatherings. Talking to friends. I would definitely talk to, this is like a second opinion too, or talking to somebody else about things is really helpful. It's like it's kind of like, man, it's a blessing to have a conversation with you. Like, thank you. It's enlightening. It makes a person feel better. It can make a person a little bit, if they're a little bit off, like come back to the center. It isn't always where someone comes in and there's a low spot. It's like sometimes it's just, you know, arms out, hug. It's even keel, like both are level. I would put a curb on spending if some of you do like certain things. I don't know how else to say that. Right, I heard, you know, the gadgets are kind of lame, right? So in May, the nodes also move, which will put the north node in your house, in your first house. I'm seeing fog, like a soft fog, kind of low. The trees are really green. I mean, this is usually when you focus on yourself, you know, when the north node is there. And that's trining Jupiter, so what am I seeing? I saw someone rewind a cassette player, stop, play, and then they rewinded it again and they played it again. Like, so someone needs to hear something a couple times. Or someone's being reminded of something. It doesn't seem like I'm seeing Venus, so it's like loving, you know? Now, I want to go back to Saturn for a second. Saturn is about dedication and devotion, right? What we are dedicated and devoted to. Pisces exaltation is Venus, which is all about dedication and devotion. I would say focusing on your Venus sign could also be helpful, and as well as your Vesta, if you're aware. Vesta. Because that's part of what these next 2 years are about. And even if you just focused on Saturn, like if that was the only lesson, Cancer was talking about this, like if we even just focus on just him, like we'd probably be fine. I mean, there are other things obviously to do, but like that's always a major situation, you know, and again, it gives so much opportunity for growth and expansion. Again, what did that say? Thoughtful application of knowledge. It's not proven it to anybody, this knowledge. It's just having a thoughtful application of it. It's being aware that we have choices. I mean, I heard you get to decide who's in charge. Because it's not, what it showed me in this reading I did was, how to explain it, to use more Venus than Mercury. So what does this mean? Mercury is about trying things, right? The Magician, as an example. I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. Does this work? What happens when I put these two things together? What happens when I put these two things together and I eat this? Etc., etc. It's not that we're not allowed to try new things. With all these changes, things are going to are changing. But Venus is, again, Saturn, all of this is asking us to finally make a decision on something ourselves. And then from there we can decide what we want the next sort of step to be, or how at least that portion of the play is acted out, right? I mean, no one has a crystal ball. None of us are God. We don't have these kinds of answers for things, nor should we, in my opinion. I think it would make a person crazy to know everything. Maybe that's why, I wonder if mental health has actually, like, it's got to be, right, like exponentially more after the internet. Which is exactly that. You can learn about anything at any point in time. It's all just, you can watch videos about it. You can, I mean, it's a tool that can be used for a really beautiful thing. I feel like I pray that this is the right way to use it. I'm trying. But, you know, some people don't care. So, again, what are we committed to? What are we devoted to? And why? Because Saturn in Pisces too is so much forgiveness and peace, right? It's Christ consciousness energy. It's Saturnian, right? Like, of course, there will be judgment and suffering and difficulty in this world. It seems to be the case. Do I believe it has to be like that? No. But for now, it does. And I don't know about you, but all my hard stuff that I've gone through has really helped form me to who I am. And I appreciate my experiences, even though a lot of them were difficult. Because, again, it helped refine me in how I want to walk in this life, and in a way, how I define who I am. And for me personally, that also goes further than these 2 years and 3 months of this one particular Saturn transit. It's about lifetimes. Like, hopefully next life, it won't have to be, I won't have to have certain conversations or arguments with other people to sort things out. I mean, we don't have to wait until the Rainbow Bridge to find peace in ourselves, right? We don't have to wait till we're on our deathbeds to find peace in ourselves. And I personally believe, as I feel like I almost touched it once, so pure, so beautiful. You know, the human's kind of uncomfortable with peace. I think just naturally, it's hard for us, especially those that have lived within the last 100 years or so. I mean, maybe always, but specifically there's a lot more distractions now, you know, from just sitting and being grounded, being still, I guess. I mean, even I was like doing this while we're talking, you know. Interesting reading. Aquarius, so wise. Jupiter in Gemini is also books. So maybe there's books connected to your children, Gemini here. Or maybe some of you write a kid's book, or maybe you write letters to your kids, or could be practicing your penmanship. Maybe some of you are calligraphers or graffiti artists. I also see it's kind of like that's sort of like shooting the shit too, you know? You know, just having casual conversations. You can expand if you want to. And I look down at the word practicality, saw the word practicality. You want to trust yourself, too. I think that's why it was asking Aquarius specifically the last 4 years to kind of sit with yourself. You know, it definitely asked you about, well, maturity, right? Dealing with things, you know, for some of you growing up, for others, I don't know, whatever it was, but mostly it was like to sit in this sort of subconscious. You got to be really patient to do that kind of deep soul work. And again, nothing like that happens overnight. Or do that deep work, you know, and it doesn't happen overnight. Because I do think a person, if anyone had any kind of materialistic thing, I think it's just gone. It's weird. Like someone really figured out what the point is, and it is so simple. It's so simple, the answer. So maybe something that's felt really complex or confusing is now changing. You know, it's becoming more accepting. Because I don't think it's hidden to a person anymore. That's the point. It was hidden, but now it's not. I'm seeing someone sign like a document. Okay. I guess that's that. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry, camera. I hope this was helpful. Please feel free to ask any questions if you have any. Some really wonderful, intelligent, kind people here. Someone will be more than happy to help. I will be more than happy to help. I'll do what I can. Yeah, or your thoughts. Maybe some of you have already gone through this, right? Actually, interesting. If you want a heads up, Capricorn rising went through this last year. So anyway, you could look at Capricorn's reading. That also give you like awareness, because again, they show the next step after this. But it's interesting. You got to go backwards to find the answer. I heard it really wants you to get right with your heart. And if for some reason your self-value is really low, or when it gets there, Pisces reading again will be very helpful, because they gave some practical stuff in this physical dimension of like what to do to keep, again, emotional, mental things like at bay or in order. You know, little stuff. Because again, it's interesting, but it's always the simplest. What is it? The Occam's razor, right? The simplest explanation. Nothing has to be complicated. I'm going to use big words and long, lengthy, drawn-out sentences. It's like, if you just take your mind, which you are so smart, the knowledge that you already have, and what is the simplest, what do you think the answer is? That's probably the answer. And if for some reason this sits in pessimism, guilt, fear, sadness, things about death, all of that, then we have to change our behavior, again, our habits in a very simple way. Our diet, our exercise, the amount of sunshine that we receive, the sleep that we commune with, you know, really basic things. How many hugs we get, how much laughter we have, little tiny things. And I want that for you because you're so serious. I'm very Saturnian too. Can you tell? I had to train my face to smile because it was so straight. I'd have all the feelings inside, but you couldn't tell. You could not tell. Even to this day, sometimes it's so intense, but you just, but I mean, I guess it's self-control. But yeah, you're allowed to lighten up. You're allowed to have fun, and but I also know that there are some serious things. Saturn's been hitting you hard. I mean, everybody, but yours, 12th house stuff, oof. It's always hard. For first house, it's very, because that was an angle too, so that was connecting to your job, to your family, to everybody, everything, right? The last 2 years, everything. And so maybe that's why Saturn also wants you to slow down and be where you are, because that was a big shift, right? See, Virgo? Ganesha's with you too? It's the remover of obstacles, right? I mean, him and Shiva, it's the child of Shiva, right? It's like it's the creator and the destroyer. That's also Saturn too. But in some of that, we get to decide certain things to a certain extent. And again, it's more in these small ways is what I guess is meant. Okay. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for being a part of this place, and I'll talk to you next time.